Thank you, very kind. What is the shortest word in the English language that contains the letters A, B, C, D, E, and F? The answer is feedback. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guest today, we have an opportunity to be in Toastmasters and receive feedback. This is an opportunity to engage in the power of feedback. It's through many different opportunities that we do participate in this. Now, what is feedback? Where did this word come from? I am so excited when I researched and found out the etymology. Because it relates to engineering, and a lot of people in here love engineering, I researched and found in two different sources, so I feel like my internet research could be accurate, that it actually comes from the 20th century use of microphones. And it was through this process that they started to recognize when sound was going out, it sometimes came back in. The feed was coming back. And so it was two words, feed, back. It started to get used more, was combined into one word, feedback, and now we use it as a term to recognize our advice or positive and negative counsel as we give to each other. We have the opportunity to use this feedback process in Toastmasters. Bill Gates once said, we all need feedback. We all need people who give us feedback. That's how we improve. And it's through Toastmasters and the process of feedback that we do improve. Now, it's interesting to think about all the roles that utilize feedback. We all know there's the general evaluator. One of his or her main roles is to provide feedback. And then, of course, the evaluator. But what other roles also provide feedback? I believe the timer provides feedback, allowing us to know where we are in our speech, and they cut us off if we go too far. We also have the ah counter, providing us very specific feedback to recognize when we're saying those ahs and ums. And we also have the grammarian, somebody who listens to our words and then again provides feedback at the end of the meeting. Giving feedback can be challenging. Receiving feedback can be challenging. But a basketball coach once said, "Don't worry when the coach is yelling at you. Worry when he stops, because that means he's given up on you." So it's important to recognize the opportunity to care about others and the opportunity to feel cared about is by participating in feedback. This doesn't take away from the challenge of it. It is a two-way street. Just as the microphone would send out the sound and then a receiver would receive it, that's created the feedback loop. We also need to be giving and receiving feedback for it to be successful. Now, when I was first grammarian, my very first opportunity, I was doing my best. But then all of a sudden I realized I'm going to get up at the end of the meeting and try and tell all of these professional speakers how horrible their speech was. It became very uncomfortable. And so I got up and presented my grammarian role, and I started off with a great introduction. Please recognize these are my own opinions. Recognize that I'm not a grammar teacher. Please accept any apologies for offenses, and on and on. Well, the general evaluator was very helpful that day, and when he gave his presentation, he said, when we give our feedback, when we give our roles, don't apologize as the grammarian did today, but simply give that. And again, it goes back that we all want to improve, and it's through that process that we can do so. Now, sometimes receiving feedback can be difficult. There's an African proverb that says, examine what is said and not who speaks. Don't take it personally. Again, remember, they're giving feedback because they care. When I was awe counter for the first time, I did my darndest to be able to provide that feedback and click and note it down. Well, apparently the general evaluator didn't think I did so well. And he presented in a humorous way, in his perspective. He said, I think our awe counter should buy a book, Awe Counter for Dummies. Well, I got a thing for him. That book doesn't exist. I could have chose to walk away offended and not return, but I knew that I could do better, and so I received mentoring and coaching, and I was able to improve my awe count and catch more of those ahs and ums. As we work through the giving and taking of feedback, we improve. We develop ourselves. And that leads to leadership. Harvey Firestone said, the growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership. And that is our opportunity. Develop ourselves, develop others, and participate in this relationship of giving and taking feedback. Now that we know how to receive it, we know how to give it, it's important that we proactively go after it. Ed Baptista said, we can't just sit back and wait for feedback to be offered, particularly when we're in a leadership role. If we want feedback to take root in the culture, we need to explicitly ask for it. Today, fellow Toastmasters, I ask for your feedback on the evaluation forms. I explicitly ask Arnold to give me feedback, which I know he's prepared and I think excited to do. And I welcome you all to engage in the power of feedback. Mr. Toastmaster.